Yes, we'd like to call the Strategic Planning Committee meeting Thursday, Monday,
June 20th.
and June 21st, 22nd, to order. We didn't get too much right. We got it right now. Roll call, Mr. Valentine was not able to make it today. Public comment period, anyone wishing to speak on any agenda item, feel free to come up whenever your agenda item is listed, and you will be granted 3 minutes. Number 4, approval of the minutes of strategic planning meeting.
Invocation.
I'm sorry. Not a good day. We will now have our invocation be followed by the pledge. Dear Lord, we want to thank you for allowing us all to be here in the great parish of Ascension. Please allow us to make good decisions in the agenda item we addressed tonight and go home safely. Please keep in mind in all our prayers our fighting men and women overseas. And as an added bonus, please give goodwill to the Tigers tonight. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Number 4, approval of the minutes of strategic planning meeting.
Second.
Moved
Second
by
by Mr.
Councilman Johnson, second by
Thompson.
Councilman Thompson. Any objection? So moved. Okay, number 5, proposed ordinance, photographic traffic signal enforcement system. Ms. Manda.
Committee members, what you have before you was drafted at the request of the Sheriff's Office. The Sheriff's Office has met extensively regarding this photographic traffic signal enforcement system, similar to what you've seen in Baton Rouge, Jefferson Parish, Orleans Parish, and they ask that you consider this for the full council.
Okay, and this is the information the final information that they consider to be
Yes.
the best. And I know a great deal of input has been put into this. We have just received this information, so barring any specific questions, I would suggest that we just take this under advisement and go out and solicit input.
A couple questions.
Okay. Mr.
Mr.
Johnson.
Lindsay, I know there was a couple bills in the legislature this year, and maybe Mr. Grant may know the answer to those. One of them was to completely outlaw or make it to where this couldn't be possible in the state, and the other one was to where if it was on state highways, that the state would get a certain percentage of the revenue. Do we know the status of either one of those bills?
Yes, sir, both failed.
Both failed, okay.
That's what I thought.
Thank you.
Quick question.
Yes, Mr. Stewart.
Lindsay, what's the final split there between the contractor, the sheriff, and the parish?
The contractor, well, we've requested proposals from contractors, so we don't have a contractor yet selected. So I can't speak for that. But I will say the parish has agreed to split with the sheriff. The parish keeping, I think, was it 40%, sheriff 50, the DA's office 5, and parish court 5%. I think that's what it was, the final split. And that would be after the contractor taking their portion.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, that's all.
But I will say that will be addressed in a separate intergovernmental agreement that I'm working on with the Sheriff's Council, and we will get that to you before it's executed.
And I think, what is the contractor's?
Because the
Grant.
RFP that we put out is a best priced RFP. So basically, whatever he offers us is the best price, then on the balance, that split would occur.
I got you.
Good deal.
Yes, sir, Mr. Thompson.
Yes, have we checked with other parishes to see how is this working, who have adopted this already?
I've had some experience with it in conversations with other parishes. Most are generally satisfied with the fee split and administrative hearing process that basically in this ordinance would be with the sheriff. The sheriff will oversee looking at the violations and then verifying those with the contractor. And basically what we're in it for is the administrative split that we are suggesting will probably be dedicated to road improvements.
So this 40% is a hard number. It's guaranteed that that's what we're gonna get
40% of the balance.
after the contract is
That's
paid.
correct. That's correct.
Thank you.
Any further questions?
Yeah, I just want to make a clarification that within that agreement, we have no administrative fees.
That's correct.
We have no people we have to hire for this, that the contractor handles 90% of that work, and when it comes to review, the sheriff's office will review the citations and handle all that.
And that'll be something that'll be further explained. We're gonna ask, Suzanne, can you get the sheriff to send a representative at the next meeting, so when we go back and take a look at it, they can explain their point. And Mr. Grant, let's just say if this does go forward, excuse me, we would pass this first and then put out for bids on it.
Well, what we're doing is a kind of a parallel process because of the RFP process may take a while. We have finalized the request for proposals to go out, so we would have something to review, something
Okay.
to bring to you as a proposal that would fit with the ordinance.
So we may get this going at about the same time.
That's correct.
Okay. With that, yes.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Johnson to table this till the next meeting for review.
I'll second it.
Mr. Kulat seconds it. Any discussion?
Just a quick discussion on that. Is there any need for this to, Mr. Grant and Lindsay, is there a great need right now for this to go forward in front of the council?
On the schedule that it's on, I think if it came up at the next meeting as we would be receiving the RFPs, we'd be on schedule to bring them together at the same point.
Okay.
Quick question.
Yes.
Mr. Grant, could we just entertain a motion to move it forward if the RFP come in before the next council meeting?
I'm not, surely, but I mean, I'm not sure that would be.
Well,
I have my concerns about not having someone from the sheriff's office here presenting that, and not, this is the first opportunity we've had to take a look at the information, so I'm sure there's gonna be some questions out there, and now we can get out and give some answers about what has been agreed to, administrative standpoint. But it's wishes of this committee as to what we wanna do.
If we got time, we just sit on it.
Yeah, I think that's what the motion was, to table it till the next strategic planning
Right,
committee
yes.
meeting, and I
then we
second
can
it,
move forward.
where we
Right.
hope to have representatives and more information.
No further discussion, any objection? Motion passed. Item number 6. There was a inquiry as to Parish newsletter, and Ms. Ellie Abear had spoken with President Martinez, and she called me earlier. She was stuck in traffic, so we're going to move number 6 to number 11A right now, and if she makes it here in time, we will review it then. She has some proposals for something. Number 7, home occupation standards. Mr. Ricky Compton.
Yes, sir. Thank you. This is an item that came up at the June commission meeting. We've been working on it with the zoning subcommittee, and excuse me. What it is we've had a number of businesses or applicants come forward, and utilizing our existing zoning code, they're allowed to put commercial uses not exceeding 1,500 square feet in pretty much all of our zoning categories, specifically the residential ones. And so what this does is this limits the commercial that can be placed in residential zones by our home occupation standards. And these are standards that are already in our code. We're just tightening them up. So what you see in your packet, item number 3, we added language that says it's not to exceed 750 square feet. So basically, The home occupation standards mean the business must be conducted by family members who live on the property. It's entirely within the principal building or accessory structure. It's not more than 20% of the principal building or 750 square feet max. It produces no alteration to the change in character, no sale or offering for sale any article not produced by members of the family. The other item is item 6. We modified the language to read, "It shall contain no outside repair or storage." It has no distribution center requiring bulk deliveries. It shall not be used for storage for more than one commercial vehicle. So these standards are pretty much in the code with the exceptions of 3 and 6 that we've modified a little bit. And then the other thing that we did is we took our permitted uses by districts tables, and in categories RM, R, and C, which are our primary residential categories, we've eliminated all the yeses that appear in commercial. And so basically, I say all, that we left a couple, such as kennels, ponds, signs, things that aren't really offensive in residential areas, but eliminated the rest, basically saying, if you want to do commercial in our residential zones, you must meet the home occupation standards. And what this does is that it eliminates the drive-through liquor store, grocery store. It eliminates the fried chicken place or the car dealership that happens at the front of a residential community because it's allowed up to 1,500 square feet. So as long as you meet our home occupation standards, you can do a business there, but you're going to live in that business.
That would be
Discussion.
why they call it home occupation.
Correct.
Ricky, the first one you got, with this business shall be conducted by family members residing on the premises.
Yes.
How are we gonna enforce that? If we have, say, mom, dad started a business, kids grew up in the house, now all of a sudden they're old enough, they're out on their own, and they're coming back and working at the house, is that gonna be considered employees, or are they still gonna be considered family members? And then again, an enforcement trigger there.
I think that the mechanism here is just trying to eliminate those businesses that are coming in after the fact and trying to do things that aren't compatible with the community. If there's family members that do that sort of a thing, we're not going to be in that enforcement business. And it does say a maximum of 2 additional employees. The other idea here is those other businesses, when you bring them into a residential community, a daycare, for example, that generates a lot of traffic. And whether the daycare or the fried chicken place or the drive-through grocery store, believe it or not, there's a lot of extra trips generated because of that business. If it's a home occupation, you're not going to generate that much traffic. You're not going to generate all that extra stuff that comes with it. So, once again, if it's that sort of, we're not going to be in that business. We're just trying to limit those other businesses that are coming in.
Yes, Mr. Kluwat.
Yes, we need to put this in the form of a motion to take it to the council.
council.
I'd like to make the motion that we move this forward to the council, and we'd have any time to study it, and the rest of the council members, any amendments to it or revisions.
And Ricky, I'd like to make sure that we get this out to all the councilmen, either hand carried if whatever we need to do.
Okay.
So that they can study these tables, that's the main thing, and be satisfied with that, and encourage anybody to have some input if they.
And if I can add, I think the biggest change, if a councilman wanted to revise this, would be in section B, and it's those allowable uses in a home occupation business. So, for example, item 1, barbershops and beauty shops not operated by more than 2 members of the residents within no more than 2 chairs. If y'all want to say 3 chairs, if y'all want to say 4 chairs, it's up to you guys. If you want to say other uses as we go through 1, 2, 3, 4, just that'll be, I think, where we start to change this thing. Otherwise, we just stay as we are and you allow 1,500 square feet.
Well, and the other thing is daycare. You have people that are doing neighborhood daycares where they keep a small number of children, and that cuts down on the traffic.
That's item 5. It's teaching, musical instruction, and daycare limited to 6 pupils at a given time.
okay.
We're not getting to a 20-student daycare.
Right.
It's 6.
Okay.
Yeah, but once again, I'd like to put that motion out that we move this to the full council for discussion.
Motion by Mr. Kluwat, second by Mr. Thompson. Any further discussion? Any opposition? Motion passed.
All right,
Put
the
that
next
on
item-
Next council agenda.
The next item, once again, came from the Zoning Commission, and this is something that new engineer Ben Laurie here and I have been working on. And I think when the council first passed the drainage ordinance, there was an understanding that it probably wasn't going to be the last time that we looked at the drainage ordinance. And what we've done is we've taken the original version, we've taken some comments that Chris Ewing originally had put towards the ordinance. We've met with several local engineers and consultants, and we've gotten some input from them as well. And we've revised the drainage ordinance in such a way that we think that we're moving it forward in that we're providing more flexibility for small site commercial development. The current ordinance basically says if you develop commercial, you must provide stormwater. This sets some minimum standards that if you're not breaking that minimum standard, you don't have to do stormwater. They still have to do a drainage impact study to prove that they're not impacting the system, but this version of the ordinance says you don't have to dig a pond. There's also language in this ordinance. Once again, I don't expect that you read it or will read it all the way through, but there's language that sets up a potential system that when the parish gets some watershed districts established, that's our ultimate goal. We want to break the parish into watershed districts. We want to study these districts and understand how they drain and where they flow. And if the parish can acquire some land and dig a pond, then we can sell watershed credits. We can sell credits back to those small site developers in that watershed, eliminating them needing to build a pond on their small half-acre snowball stand site. And so what we're doing is we put the language in here that says when it's at that point, you follow these regulations. And so that's our pay in lieu of system, and it's something we've been working on and will continue to work on, particularly as we get into the master plan process and start to break down the parish into these watersheds.
Ricky, do you also have where a person could have some extra credits for retention pond that they could sell to another business, adjoining business?
The framework doesn't go into that much detail, but that is certainly something that could be built into each individual district.
I would like to see that, because one of the problems we have with a bunch of small half-acre, 1 acre businesses is that you may have one that may have land that would be suitable for that, and if they built it slightly bigger, which would hardly cost them any more money, they could actually sell that to the neighboring business that could save a great deal of money by not having to build 2 individual detention ponds, and yet they would have one.
Right, and we encourage people to combine ponds as often as possible, and already in the ordinance there's a provision for selling credits for fill mitigation, so that would be something we could easily extend it to as far as...
I would like that to be extended. What will we, if it's the wishes of the committee, but what would we need to do to extend that to include an individual that would?
I think where we are today is we're in an environment where people are understanding now that they must provide stormwater. And we had a specific developer come to us, and I think through Ben and I, our encouragement, we basically said, if you don't do a master stormwater system, we're going to require a pond on each lot. So they went back and they reanalyzed their site, and now they're going to dig one pond that serves 5 lots.
Right.
And if we can get those same developers to talk to their neighbors, which really doesn't happen a lot today, and say, hey, listen, if you guys work together, maybe you can straddle property lines and share and do all this other stuff, that's more of an education thing than an actual code, because we encourage it. We think fewer, bigger ponds is a much better solution than more smaller ponds.
Well, can we make sure that's in
Yes.
there, and it would be an incentive monetarily, again, for one person doing that. I would like to add that language to it.
It'll be in there. We'll add it.
Okay.
Just a quick comment, Ricky, I breezed through it, and I tell you what, I like a lot of the verbiage in it, that you've actually helped some of the residents out in some of the situations that really stifles them. And y'all be able to work through and try to get some of the lighter commercial and, sites to where somebody's paying $500,000 for an acre of land almost in the city of Gonzales, and then they got to dig half of it up to be a pond.
Right.
So we've seen some very extreme circumstances, and somebody adding on to their barn down in Galvez, Sanamo, whatever, It's, so, appreciate your work on this.
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to move this to the council.
Motion by Mr. Johnson. Second. Second by Mr. Kluwat. Any further discussion? And I might add, there's a great deal of input being put in this. We appreciate it.
Please get that out to the council as
yeah.
quick as possible.
With that, this motion passed. Bring it to the council in the next agenda. And also, please get that to all the councilmen so we can, for review.
Okay. My next item is another item that came up because of a couple of developments that we've had come to our office. And what we're doing is we're adding definitions to our code. We're adding a light industrial definition, a heavy industrial definition, and an industrial facility definition. And so I'm going to read those to you real quick. Light industrial, intended to accommodate light manufacturing, research and development, warehousing, wholesale, and processing uses. Light industrial is intended to encourage originality and flexibility in design to ensure that the development is properly related to its site and buffered to surrounding land uses. Development should be operated in a relatively clean and quiet manner in accordance with applicable noise ordinance regulations, Chapter 14, Article 3 of the Code of Ordinances, and should not be obnoxious to nearby residential or commercial uses. Uses shall create little or no environmental or safety problems. Wherever possible, light industrial development should be separate from residential districts by natural or structural boundaries, such as drainage channels, strips of vegetation, transportation arteries, or similar features. And basically, light industrial today is allowed in our mixed-use zoning category, but we have no definition for what it is, so it's up to interpretation. What can I do in mixed use? We want to clarify it and basically say you can do light manufacturing, you can do fabrication, as long as it happens inside of a building,
Indoors.
out of sight, out of sound of nearby neighbors. So basically, we're trying to protect the residents by clarifying what you can actually do in mixed use without allowing, anything willy-nilly to happen and then them take us to court to say, well, your definition's vague. So we're trying to clarify that. Heavy industrial and industrial facilities came in because of our drainage ordinance. Our drainage ordinance specifically eliminates industrial facilities from having to provide drainage. We want to provide protection for the parish that says if you're building a warehouse in our industrially zoned property, you're not an industrial facility. You're just a warehouse in industrially zoned property. So the definitions are heavy industrial, intended to accommodate high-impact manufacturing, compounding, processing, packaging, treatment, and other industrial uses, including extractive and waste-related uses that by their nature create a nuisance and which are not properly associated with or are compatible with nearby residential or commercial neighborhoods. And an industrial facility is any development within an industrially zoned piece of property that is classified as a heavy industrial use. So tying them together to basically clarify what we're talking about.
Open for discussion?
Yeah, I just, Mr. Chairman, on the light industrial, I think that's a step in the right direction, and that you're clarifying fabrication and not necessarily sandblasting and painting, galvanizing and other things, and that you're looking at an indoor type facility.
Correct. The other thing that we're going to be doing as we move forward is probably creating a medium intensity industrial category. The types of things that you would want to find probably on arterial corridors, but not necessarily in residential areas. Like a distribution center. If Walmart came to us and said, I need 4 million square feet for a distribution center, where would we put it today? Would we put it next to the chemical plants, or would we put it on Airline Highway? I don't have the answer. That's a study that we need to do in our office and then bring to you guys and say, what do you think? What do you think about this definition for medium intensity industrial property? So that'll be coming in the future.
Any further discussion? We have a motion. Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Johnson. Any further discussion? Any opposition? So moved. Solid waste update, Mr. Grant.
Council members, I came to you last year and put before you a schedule on how we would go about investigating the opportunity for comprehensive solid waste in the parish. I have been busy and engaged in that over the last 4 or 5 months. I have now met with every provider, stakeholder, and anyone else that wanted to tell me about how we should be doing solid waste recycling otherwise. What I have gotten is a wide variety of answers to that question. There's certainly great interest on the part of the industry in what would be the future of solid waste in Ascension. There's a great deal of interest on the part of the recycling community in the Recycling Foundation to keep Ascension beautiful. So where I am is that I've now proposed a solid waste summit. I'm going to have a summit meeting on Thursday with everybody, all the interested parties in the same room. And Councilman Scheckstein and I agreed to kind of facilitate this meeting and work everybody through next steps. My goal here is to kind of come out of this with a strategy that we can put into the form of an RFP, we can put it into the form of policy, potentially maybe even a franchise, and with the goal with the rest of the summer and into the fall, making a proposal to you on how we would go about this. My concerns here is that I get a lot of interest in the northern part of the parish about recycling. I don't think anybody quite understands the depth and scope of what they're asking. If we did recycling in one specific area right now, the charge for recycling would be astronomical. If we do not find a way to distribute this cost to parish or come up with some tiered strategy of how we would do it, it's going to be quite expensive. It will never pay for itself, I can tell you that, based on my experience. But I think what we're going to come out of this summit with is a good strategy on how we would put together a document for your consideration that we could put out to the industry and suggest how they might do the kinds of services we want to see. I think different people want to see different things. We've talked about the white goods, having those picked up. That's a cost. We talked about green waste. How do we dispose of that and those various things? And all of them have a cost associated with them that are over and above what people are paying right now for subscription service. Okay, remember, everybody in this parish right now makes their own deal with their individual provider, and it's whatever he decides to do. None of those providers right now provide these other services that people are now interested in. And quite honestly, none of them really stepped up and said they would for an individual. They want to do it on a collective basis. They can only see it as a viable business proposition on a collective basis. And quite honestly, none of them see it as something that they can do without the parish having a serious role in this in the future. So this is my next step. I would hope that you might have some time to join us at this summit. There's a really good conference room over in Donaldsonville where we can get this done in a really compact environment. And my goal is to come out of this, as I said, with a strategy that we can put before you.
I might add, Mr. Grant has done a great deal of research in this. I was kind of teasing him the other day. He's up to his waist in waste. So I think we're getting to that next step. A lot of information has been gathered, and I think we're at the point people in this parish are demanding us move forward in something like this. So hopefully we can come up with a good plan that's amenable to everyone. And we really want to get council's input into this. So please spread the word on Thursday with the rest of the councilmen if they have an opportunity to come by and participate in this. Any other
Real
questions?
quick. Yeah, Mr. Grant, you said you met with all the private
Yes, sir.
private businesses that are licensed and
I've met with all the
taking
providers.
solid waste.
I've met all the providers. I met the operators of the
the
waste
waste
facilities and
facilities.
C&D. I've met with these recycling folks. I've met with everyone that's expressed an interest in this issue.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a challenge for the private collectors that recycling is going to be part of the deal
Yes, sir.
that we need to try to work in. And I know you'd said it might be cost prohibitive up front.
If we do it on a small scale, it really is. I think it only works on a large scale, where you can distribute that cost across. And the question is, does everybody really want it? You know, I mean, I will tell you, in my experience and the research I've done, recycling at its maximum usually has a 50% penetration rate in households. So at 50% of the households, and the last count I had was about 60,000 households. You know, you're talking $3, $4, $5, maybe $5 a household to make it halfway subsidized, you know, the cost of it. So how do you get that down to affordable becomes the question.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions? Okay, Thursday, 10 to 12, in Donaldsonville at the Government Center in the conference room.
Yes, sir.
Please attend. And number 11, coastal zone designated update. I know legislative session, they had a lot of activity going on.
Yes,
Ms.
sir.
Grant, can you just?
Been
fill
working
everybody
closely
in?
with the Drainage Board and Councilman Clue and that on this. Let me tell you where we are right as we speak. As of 6 o'clock today was the last day for legislators to bring bills up for reconsideration. Senator Amadi has asked for reconsideration on our bill for the coastal zone. As I understand it, what basically transpired is that it passed out of the House fairly easily and came to the Senate, and as they begin to add additional parishes to the bill, it began to get kind of overwhelmed and died. Senator Amity feels fairly certain that he may be able to get the reconsideration. If not, what the process that has been proposed is the Coastal Restoration and Protection Authority's full authority comes into place in January under current law. If indeed they get to that point, they will then, as a part of their master plan process, create an administrative process for the inclusion of additional parishes. They have not identified that administrative process. What that basically would do is then become an administrative rule. And I've been through the rulemaking process at the state government. You're looking at a year, 18 months before they would confect a rule that would allow you to include anything else in the coastal zone. I'm hopeful that the senator can get it reconsidered and we get it passed. If we don't get it passed this week, we'll be faced with the administrative
And
rulemaking process.
just to alleviate a number of people's concerns, there was concerns as businesses and insurance agents about a number of people in the parish being put in a higher insurance bracket. We were assured by the insurance commissioner that was not the case, but also a large part of the parish was stripped as a designation, and it was just put in areas that were low and coastal
Yes, sir.
areas, obviously coastal areas within the parish. And it's also something that could be modified to include areas that we did miss that would be protected. So the real populated areas were mostly not included, and also industrial was not included.
It was a very good bill with the amendments.
Yeah, and the big feedback that I got from a couple of other parishes is that there's a limited amount of funds that are coming in. It's a large amount, but that's just another piece of the pie that they have to split, and there was a little reluctance on some of the parishes to split that pie. And again, to remind people, I think Livingston this past year had upwards of $10 million, and we were right across the river from them, and we didn't get anything.
Yes.
It's something that, in the long run, if we can get the funding like they're talking about, we could fulfill our capital improvements for drainage, which would then, we would be able to go back and redesignate some our base flood elevations and take a lot of people in the parish out of the flood zone. So
Yes.
that's our intent in the future, is to try to get more and more people out of the flood zone. So that's where we would be really saving some money.
Yes.
So hopefully that can be worked out. Now, Miss Ellie here, she was able to make it. I had a call from Miss Ellie Hebert. She had spoken with Parish President Martinez. I really don't know what the essence of this is, but we wanted to make a presentation here about a parish newsletter.
Thank you.
You want me right here, is this good enough?
Right. Right here. You have the floor, Ms. Ellis.
Thank you. Thank you, and I appreciate y'all allowing me a few minutes to talk to you. Basically, what it is in Iberville Parish and in West Baton Rouge Parish, my company does a parish newsletter for all the government agencies. And Mitchell Uso had talked to Tommy Martinez, and then I met with Mr. Tommy, I guess a while back, a month ago or so, about whether y'all would be interested in this type of thing for Ascension Parish. And so he suggested almost immediately that it come to this committee for y'all review. And so what I did was put together a packet for each of y'all on the newsletters that we do for those parishes, and we also do a publication that you're gonna see for East Baton Rouge for the school board. That one's strictly for them. They do their own, we do that twice a year for them. And all we do for that one is just design it for them and produce it. But how this all started was Iberville was doing a strategic plan and all, and there became a need for communication with the community about things going on. There were a lot of officials that wanted to get word out to people about good things that were happening in the parish, good projects, things like that, that just weren't getting any media coverage at all. And so what we did was got a number of the different agencies together, and they kind of all went together to fund the newsletter. And that's what happened. The sheriff, the clerk, the school board, all of them went together on the project. And that's how it got started, and it's, I guess, probably 5 years now. And then the parish president in West Baton Rouge, Mr. Pee Wee Berthelot, saw the one in Iberville, and he called me, actually. And he put together a meeting with all the officials there, and they started the same thing. And so what I have for you here is not only the newsletters, but also kind of a proposal on, on what they've found over there, how it's helped, and also on what would be involved here. Obviously, Ascension is a lot larger than either Iberville or West Baton Rouge, so, it would be more costly, but it's still, I think, workable. And it's something that y'all might want to consider. If you'll notice in both of them, it's strictly government agencies. There's not advertising in them. In one of the ones for West Baton Rouge, we did do one ad once or twice just because somebody pulled out at the last minute on us, and he said, just put something there. And so, but in general, we try to not do advertising. This is strictly, articles that the agencies want in. And the way it works is I usually meet with the parish president, the school system superintendent, the sheriff, there's different people when it's time, and I say, okay, what articles are important for y'all to get in this time? And they tell me, and we go out and we write the articles, take the pictures, design it, and then bring it back to them, and they say, okay, I like this, I want you to change this, or whatever. And then once everybody's gone through that process, we go to press with it. And then they're all direct mailed to every household in the parish, which is what I would think y'all would want here. That way all your residents are getting the news about what's going on.
So the proposal here would be $19,000 per issue in the parish of Ascension. And
Yeah.
that cost would be shared by,
By all of
as you
the,
say, the parish council, sheriff, clerk of court, assessor, school board, municipalities, tourism, recreation, clerk of court.
right.
You would do the legwork in getting the agreement with all of them?
Yeah, the way it worked in both of those parishes, and we can do it however y'all want here, but the parish president just asked for a meeting of the officials where I could go in and explain to them. I don't have to do it that way, or we can do it another way.
That would,
I'll be glad to talk to them if y'all are interested in it. So we can work it any kind of way you want.
This newsletter, this is once a month?
quarterly.
Yes, sir, quarterly.
We would have the opportunity to let President Martinez have a meeting and come back with a proposal, and to see what kind of input and what kind of proposal we could have.
I'd like to see that happen. I mean, I'd like to see it go forward, to see what other agencies want to participate and see what's out there and see what the administration can come back with for us.
Well, we can make a motion out of this committee that we can try
Have
to
administration go forward.
administration meet with
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Hebert.
Oh,
It's just informational. We don't need
Yeah,
a motion. We don't need a
Yeah,
motion.
I'll take it to the
We
president.
really don't need a motion, Mr. Grant, but, I mean, it's pretty much the consensus of this committee would be to take a look at it, have a meeting, and then come back with a proposal,
Definitive cost for the
Yeah.
council portion of it.
and see, participation and things like that. It's a great newsletter, it appears to be great, and I think it's good for the parish to get the word out anytime you do that.
Yeah.
And we appreciate your interest.
Thank you, gentlemen. I
Thank you,
appreciate it.
ma'am. All right. With that, we'll come to number 12. Second. Motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Kluwat. We're hereby adjourned.
Good job, Rick.